there are a handful of games in college football that will end up basically deciding the season in terms of who makes the college football playoffs and who wins the national championship. So here are my 5 best games that I cannot wait to watch as just a guy who's a degenerate lover of college football. Starting off, they'll be on the list. I knew they'll be on the list. There's no reason to wait. Ole Miss LSU, the game of Lane Kiffin. It's going to be so much fun. The Grove is going to be rocking. And there's a lot of bad blood on that Ole Miss sideline. There's a lot of guys that feel like Lane Kiffin is a snake. He went behind their back. He left. And they want to get revenge. As well as these are 2 teams that right now, you just saw my top 25. I think they're both fairly close to one another. I think home field advantage is a big deal in this game. And when I have one of these teams potentially being 10-2, one of these potentially being 9-3, or somewhere around there, either of them could be honestly 9-3 or 10-2. Well, this is one of those games that kind of decides which one of these 2 teams has the opportunity to make the playoffs. Along with all the other storylines, it's going to be a tremendous game. And let's look at the past as well. People are forgetting, this has been legitimately one of the best rivalries in college football. I was at the Kyron Lacey walk-off game a couple years ago, ended up on the field. That one was incredible. The 24-19 game was great. And then 3 years ago, you have the shootout between these 2 teams. It's truly one of the great rivalries the Magnolia Bowl has been over the last handful of years. And it's going to be one of the best games of the year. Next, everybody loves when 2 top 5 teams clash, and that's going to happen in Austin this year. Texas and Ohio State. There is no question that one of these teams could easily end up in the national championship. Who knows? Maybe even 2 of them could end up in the national championship. And you saw a year ago when both these teams had freshman quarterbacks, or at least not freshman quarterbacks, but first-year starting quarterbacks, that there was it felt weird, okay, to say the least. Arch Manning was missing easy passes. Julian Sain was missing easy passes. Well, now they've both kind of matured a little bit. They both kind of have that feeling of we should win the national championship this year. And you add playmakers like Cam Coleman. I think the argument, in my opinion, is who's the best wide receiver in college football. I think we'll find it out that weekend. Between Cam Coleman, between Jeremiah Smith, the running backs should be elite. Steve Sarkisian, great offensive mind. What will Ryan Day and Arthur Smith throw at Texas? You look to the defense, there's talent everywhere. Can Colin Simmons be a true game wrecker? Everybody knows how talented he is. His stats are amazing. His measurables are incredible. Yeah, go do it on the biggest stage. And can Texas finally get that win, set themselves up well for SEC play? And then who knows what will happen? I think we could see this matchup twice this season, easily. For the next game that I think will end up shaping the college football season, it will take place in South Bend between 2 teams that have schedules that have been heavily criticized. It's Notre Dame versus Miami. Look, when both these teams play the competition that they essentially play, which is not much for either of these 2 teams, it makes this game matter so much more. The loser of this game has no room for it. I do not think a 10-2 Miami team makes the playoffs, unless you win the AC. I do not think a 10-2 Notre Dame team makes the playoffs, because they will not be put in the top 12, especially if those losses are to a BYU team and a Miami team, and you're sitting here and your best win's SMU. I don't think you're going to get put in. It's just kind of the reality of it. But, a little bit deeper than that, these are 2 coaches, 2 out of the last 2 years, have lost in the national title game. Marcus Freeman and Mario Cristobal are 2 of the best coaches in the sport. There's only a handful of guys that have made it to a national title. Both these guys are those guys at programs that believe that they should get back. You have the history of the Catholics with the convicts. It should be an electric game. What's going to be the difference right now in this game, in my opinion, is going to be quarterback play. I don't think there's much doubt in that. I think both these teams have incredibly solid defenses. I'd expect kind of a slugfest. I might be at this game. I'm going to a game on November 7th. It's kind of between this and the Holy War. I don't know where I'll be yet. Price does matter. Not making too much money doing this quite yet. But it's one of the best games this season. Then it's been the Big Ten title a season ago. Indiana, Ohio State is my 4th game that I think will end up shaping the 2026 season. Look, Indiana under Kurt Cignetti has been a fairy tale. It's been fake. It's been Fadoozy. And they're going to be coming into this game most likely with, a 24-ish game win streak, somewhere around there. It's unreal. And then Ohio State will play Texas before this, and we'll play Oregon, if I'm not mistaken, a week after. This is kind of a must-win game for Ohio State, especially if you lose the other two. And Ohio State has struggled, other than in 2024 in the playoffs, against top-ranked teams under Ryan Day. It was his knock for a long time. He was treated the same way you treat a James Franklin or a Steve Sarkisian or a Kalen DeBoer, a guy who's been really good but hasn't, won it all yet. Well, he won it all, but you're at Ohio State. You have the most talented roster pretty much every year. Well, one championship is not acceptable. They want more. They expect more. And you're going to have an Indiana team that, probably won't be seen as talented, but you have to go on the road to Indiana, the biggest home game in program history. And Josh Hoover wants to have a Heisman moment. He just watched Fernando Mendoza transfer in and win the award, go 16-0 and win a national championship. This game will be decided absolutely on the lines of scrimmage. Indiana's got so much back on that defensive line. It's terrifying. And Ohio State struggled in big games to protect the quarterback and run the ball. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to absolutely shape the playoff picture, as well as who will be favored heading into the college football playoffs. And finally, it's one of the best games every single season. It's Georgia and it's Alabama. Look, and here's why this one intrigues me so much. One, Georgia is a very easy schedule. If Georgia wants to be, seen as one of the top dogs in the SEC, you have to get over what your Achilles heel has been, which has been Alabama. And then you look at Alabama, I think they're somewhere around 9-3 right now, or 10-2, a lot like LSU and Ole Miss. Well, all of a sudden you beat Georgia, some things change. And the feel around everything would change. There's no doubt. So, what will most likely give in this matchup? I think it'll be which team gets better wide receiver play. Truth be to God, I think Alabama next year will be able to run the ball. I've made fun of Alabama a lot for, they're going to start Hill and they're going to expect different results. And I do think they'll get different results because I think the offensive line will be more cohesive, And I think both defenses are two of the top 10 units in the country. And I don't even think there's, 8 units better than either of them. But I think it will come down to wide receiver play. Right now, I think Georgia's going to get a little bit more wide receiver play. Plus, I can trust the quarterback play a little bit more. But who really knows in that matchup? It's obviously going to be one of the best in college football. It's the best seemingly every single year. But those are my 5 games that I think will end up shaping the college football season. If you made it this far, I hope you enjoyed the video. Consider watching a full episode. Follow all my social medias that are below me because we cover this sport year-round and we cover this sport top to bottom.